Good evening. I'd like to call. Excuse me. I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Campbell City Council on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Could I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Scazola.
Here.
Councilmember Furtado. Vice Mayor Landry.
Present.
Mayor Bybee.
Present. And I'd like to invite everyone to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all stand, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. So there are no special presentations and proclamations this evening, and there are no communications and petitions, and we do not have any report from closed session. So that moves us to oral request. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council are requested but not required to complete a speaker's card. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. The law generally prohibits the council from discussion or taking action on such items. However, the council may instruct staff accordingly regarding oral requests. And tonight I have, the first one is Amy Taylor. If you come to the podium, please.
Great, thank you. Hello and good evening. I'm Amy Taylor, Campbell resident and owner of Cloud City Supply. Tonight, I'd like to talk about community because right now the DCBA board is having a difficult time believing that the city is interested in doing what's right for our community. And I'll preface what I'm about to say. This is not emotional, this is fact-based. I'll start with the paid parking lot, a topic you've heard about from us on multiple occasions, and we've sent you feedback from our business survey. City council direction has been to speak to staff. Candidly, we get nowhere. So if blight is what the city is after, blight and the downtown toilet is what you'll get. Next, we have a downtown business owner and a DCBA board member who applied for a parklet permit. They have been unable to reach an agreement with the city and the contractor and are now unable to get a parklet. They were told the $1,500 application fee is non-refundable, yet nowhere on the application or anywhere online does it say that this is non-refundable. This business owner has been operating in downtown for 10 years and has been instrumental in bringing the community together. And I will remind you all that this issue of permitting and being difficult to work with in Campbell has been identified by the Economic Development Committee consultants as the #1 challenge in our city. Doesn't look like we're trying to make any changes. How did we get so out of balance with the city to where the DCBA has a better working relationship with the Campbell Police Department than we do with city staff? Kudos to the police department, but this is disappointing. So my request this evening is for the city council and staff to consider what it means to actually serve the community versus just saying that we do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Next speaker is Steve Saunders.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I basically want to understand the situation that seems to be occurring in our city. Last Tuesday night, I was downtown and observed a whole mob of bicyclists blow down Campbell Avenue. Large group of them not stopping anything for any signs or anything, just going through. Tonight on my way to the meeting, the same, not the same, I can't prove it's the same people, but the same sort of behavior was going up First Street. Had to stop, pull over, and still almost got run into by some crazy on the back wheel of his bike. This doesn't seem like something we really want to encourage in our community. I'd like to see us look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I think we have the police department follow up with Steve tomorrow on that, please. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak under oral requests? And I don't see anybody online. Is that correct? Thank you. So we'll now move on to council announcements, and I have a few tonight. The city clerk's office is accepting accepting applications for 2 positions in the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. These are full-term appointments expiring August 2028. To find out more about this committee or to apply, please contact the City Clerk's office at 408-866-2117 or visit the city's website at campbellca.gov. You are invited to attend a family health and wellness fair on Saturday, September 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Castlemont Elementary School, located at 3040 East Payne Avenue in Campbell. There will be fun activities for everyone. Kids can catch up on important health screenings from local doctors for free. This event is a joint partnership with Assemblyman-member Mark Berman, Campbell Union School District, Valley Health Foundation, and the Santa Clara County Public Health Department. For more information, please visit asmdc.org. The Caregivers Count Conference is an annual virtual event designed for families and friends caring for loved ones. This conference features professional speakers covering wide-ranging topics to support caregivers. There are 2 days remaining. September 23rd and 30th will be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. For more information or to register, please visit caregiverscount.net. On Sunday, October 1st at 7:30 a.m. at Campbell Park, you're invited to participate in the 9th annual Teal Run 5K Fun Run Walk. The Teal Run is a day of hope, love, and support for women and families affected by ovarian cancer. Take part in the fun-filled event that will have many activities in addition to the 5K run walk. There will be a survivor ceremony, art, face painting, photo booth, bubble show, kids fun run, and so much more. For more information or to register for this event, please visit thetealrun.org. Join the fun, meet your neighbors, make some money, and keep those items from going into the landfill. Be sure to sign up for the City of Campbell's annual garage sale on Saturday, October 14th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information or to register, please call 408-866-2145. And finally, free youth heart screening will occur at the Campbell Community Center, Orchard City Banquet Hall from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 28th. For additional information, please visit campbellca.gov. Next, we'll move to the consent calendar. And all all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a request is made by a member of the City Council, city staff, or a member of the public. Any person wishing to speak on any item on the consent calendar should ask to have the item removed from the consent calendar prior to the time the council votes to approve. If removed, the item will be discussed in the order in which it appears. Is there anyone in the audience, any council member, staff wishing to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar. It's items 1 through 9, and we have a desk item on item 4.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 9. And I want to make a note on item 9 about thank you very much to the Medicare Drop LLC for the $10,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. There's a
Oh, including the desk item. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Mayor Landry and a second by Councilmember Lopez to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 9 with the inclusion of the desk item on 4.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. This brings us to public hearings and introduction of ordinances. I want to read for the record that members of the public may be allotted up to 2 minutes to comment on any public hearing item. Applicants, appellants, and their representatives may be allotted up to a total of 5 minutes for opening statements and up to a total of 3 minutes maximum for closing statements. Items requested or recommended for continuance are subject to council's consent at the meeting. Are there any disclosures that council members would like to make on any of the public hearing item? So item 10 is a continued public hearing to consider a resolution as directed by the City Council approving an appeal and overturning the Planning Commission's approval of a variance to allow construction of a single family dwelling with an attached accessory dwelling unit with substandard front and street yard setbacks, file number PLN 2022-101. And our presenter tonight is Senior Planner Daniel Famine.
Thank you. Good evening. This is the follow-up meeting from the City Council's July 18th meeting, where the council on a 4-to-1 vote took action to approve the appeal and to overturn the Planning Commission's approval of the variance, which will now constitute a denial. Staff has prepared a resolution for the council's consideration based on the feedback provided by the council at the July meeting. And just as a reminder, the denial is with prejudice, which would prohibit the applicant from submitting the same or substantially similar application within 12 months. So the applicant could resubmit a new variance application, but it would need to be substantially different than what had been previously considered. With that, I will take any questions the council may have.
Are there any questions of Daniel from the council? Thank you. So I will open the public hearing, and I don't have any speaker cards on this. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this item? So you're wishing to speak on item 10?
Yes.
Please come forward.
We have our
Could you wait till you get to the podium to start speaking
Sure.
so we can all hear you? Thank you.
Good evening. We are Philip Bedfordis. We have our corporation attorney sent a letter for the city councils and for them to get the extension and defer this meeting for the next city council meetings. I believe you have seen that. We have sent it to each and all the city councils.
So you're requesting a continuance?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And the council,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In that letter disclosure why we need that extension.
could you explain why, for the record, your
May I
intent?
give you a copy of that letter to everyone?
Mhm. Well, could you state why you're requesting a continuance is what I
Yes,
asked.
because we did just arrive yesterday. The owners arrived to my office yesterday very late. And at the same time, we came to city of Campbell. We talked to Mr. Daniel. He was very helpful, the senior planner. So therefore, we went back to office with them. With more knowledge we have, we talked to our expediter, permit expediter, and the other engineers in the office. And we have to talk to the city, to the attorney of the corporation. And so he advised, so she needs to write, because she did not speak English well. She did not understand what's going on, and she delayed on getting approval. The city commissioner was approved, but never they applied for the denial of this project. So I'm here to make sure we get the time to speak to neighbors and make sure they're happy, we are happy, city is happy, and we don't want to have some project over there which is everybody laughed to 11 feet long, 11 feet wide and 50 feet long project, which is bring the project neighborhood prices very, very low because of that design. That's the reason we wanted more investigation. Therefore, we're requesting to have more time, please.
Okay, thank you.
For listening.
Thank you. You may sit down.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Adrian Sarmento. I live at 637 Maple Avenue. I live right down the street from the corner of Gage and Maple. And although I understand his concerns of people didn't understand what was going on, we had very long time to talk about this project. There was plenty of time to fully understand what was happening with this project, the objections of the community versus the objections of the people that were putting all the money into it. They put so much money into the project, but they didn't do any of the research. They didn't do any of the gathering of people to speak for them. I'm in construction. I own a small business. I guarantee you, anytime that I would come to you with plans, if I didn't meet your demands or requirements, you're going to deny me. I'm going to have fees. I'm going to have a whole bunch of crap that I'm going to have to pay for. And it's do or die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I don't provide you with a presentation that's going to win over a case, for sure, you guys will deny me. Just like we did in July, they had an opportunity. They stated their case. They said, I will not change anything. No way, don't you know who I am? That's what they said. And you let them know exactly who they were. You guys voted 4-1, 4-1, and it is what it is. Since July, they've had opportunities to come back and negotiate, coordinate. We drew a line in the sand and they crossed it. I understand this guy has a client that he's fighting for. He's probably got a really big retainer. He's probably making a lot of money, like building houses here in Campbell, but he doesn't need to build one at Page. 68 Page is not his property anymore to build. That thing's been decided to stick with that.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? So.
Hi, my name's Leanne Hamilton. I live at 587 Maple Avenue. I live directly across the street from 68 Page. And my upstairs looks right out to the property. And I would like to speak to the fact that I couldn't understand a word this gentleman said. And I don't know if it's just can you guys understand me? Yeah, okay. Like I couldn't understand anything he said. I don't know what's going on. So I would like maybe like a written transcript or something. This is like kind of crazy. But also I would like to go back to the fact that the variance should not be put through because the place that they're trying to build is not a single family home. My mom is in the audience, and my dad and her live with me, and we have 2 bathrooms. We have 3 bedrooms. It's 5 bathrooms. No, it's not a hardship. No, I'm sorry. It's just you cannot let this go through. It's crazy. I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, do not let a house be built that is going to be some kind of boarding house, I don't know what, maybe a massage parlor, maybe birthing center, who knows? But it's not going to be a home. And we live in a neighborhood, I've been there since, I bought my house in 2004. I raised my daughter, she's 27 years old there. It's like, I'm just sick to my stomach that you guys are even considering to let what they're trying to do go through.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public? So I'm gonna close the public hearing and bring it back to council. But before I do that, I want to clarify the speaker before you, or at the beginning of the meeting, asked for continuance to a subsequent meeting because the attorney representing the applicant is unable to attend tonight. So, but I also want to state for the record that back in July, the council did approve the appeal and direct staff to return to a date to the council meeting with a resolution with appropriate findings in support of the variance denial. So that's what we're here to discuss tonight. The council has taken action on it in July and voted on a 4-to-1 motion to approve the appeal and deny the variance. So we needed facts of finding or findings of fact in order to adopt the resolution, and we now have those by staff. So that's the two items before the council would be, it's up to the council's discretion if they want to continue it, but also we have a previous action that the council took that approved the appeal. So I'll leave it up to council discussion as to how you want to proceed. Councilmember Furtado.
I'll make a brief comment. The letter we received was from an attorney who indicated that he had just been hired yesterday to represent the owners of the property. And he requested a continuance so that he could present his case. Normally, when someone who's a party to the whole process requests a continuance, that is normally granted. It doesn't change anything that the council had already decided. But since this is a request from one of the principal persons involved in this whole situation, we generally grant a continuance. I just think it's appropriate we should do that. It doesn't change anything until it's presented once again.
Any other comments?
I'll make a comment. I appreciate your comment, Dan. My concern is that they had since July and they only did something yesterday. It's very late in the game. Like the mayor said, we needed it to come back for the staff to write the resolution accepting the appeal. And I feel like we've given them ample time since July. And I would want to proceed with the memo, the way it's written in the staff report.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yeah, likewise, I'd like to point out that we already at one point, I think this is the third or fourth discussion the council has had of this, and including at one point already deferring in part to give them more time to come back earlier. So I just don't see, in fairness, how just because someone was hired last night that we we can have a transparent process, and so I can't see the justification at this stage for continuing to defer it. I also just don't think that's where we are at this point in the hearing. I mean, we do have the discretion to continue, but we already made a finding of fact and a decision, and that wouldn't change just because there was a deferral. So many more reasons why I could get into it, but I just don't think that would be fair or transparent at this stage in the process.
Councilmember Scazola.
Yeah, I just think it's already been said by both Vice Mayor Landry as well as Councilmember Lopez. I agree fully with what they just said. We've given so much time already to this issue, and I think it's time to put it to bed.
Thank you. And I also concur with my colleagues. I feel like they've had ample opportunity to address the issues that were raised. We had 2 continuances, and at the public hearing where the council voted, the applicant was given another opportunity to continue the item so that he could further work with staff to redesign the project, and he wasn't willing to do that. So the council then took action to approve the appeal. So I stand with the previous action. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the city council adopt a resolution approving the appeal and overturning the planning commission's approval of a variance.
I'll second.
Thank you. No, the public hearing's closed, sir. So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Landry and a second by Councilmember Lopez to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
No.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. And so, sir, the best course of action would be to contact the planning department tomorrow for follow-up on the next steps if they want to resubmit an application. Thank you. No more comments. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 11. It's a public hearing to consider a city-initiated text amendment to the Campbell Municipal Code by adding chapter 11.13 for wireless communication facilities in the public right-of-way other than small cell wireless facilities, amending chapter 11.14 of the Campbell Municipal Code for small cell wireless facilities in the public right-of-way, and adopting resolutions to adjust the wireless facility permitting guidelines and a wireless facility fee schedule. And our presenter is City Attorney Bill Seligman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bybee. Before you tonight is an ordinance continuing our efforts with our wireless telecommunications facilities in the public right-of-way. It's going to be presented tonight by Stephanie Hall from my office. Stephanie is an associate with our firm who's been there for, I believe, 7 years, if I'm adding up the numbers correctly. And she's one of 2 telecommunications experts that we have in our firm. And she worked very diligently with Amy Olay on the present ordinance, which is an extension of an ordinance that we initiated back in 2019 dealing with small cell facilities in the public right-of-way. What was not addressed at that time is what do we do if we get an application for something that doesn't qualify as a small cell facility? And that's what this ordinance is intended to address. And with that, I will turn it over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Bill. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, PowerPoint should be up. Okay, so as Bill said, my name is Stephanie Hall, and I will be presenting today on wireless facilities in the public right-of-way. So first, I'm going to start out with a definition of what are we talking about. Wireless facilities means an installation used to transmit signals over the air from facility to facility or from facility to user equipment for any wireless service. This includes facilities that send, transmit, and or receive radio frequency signals, AM, FM, microwave, and or electromagnetic waves for the purpose of providing voice, data, images, or other information, including but not limited to cellular and or digital telephone service, personal communication services, and paging services. So as Bill mentioned, currently the city has a few regulations in place. First, we have Chapter 2134, which applies to wireless facilities outside of the public right-of-way, i.e. on private property. And then we have regulations that apply to small cell wireless facilities in the public right-of-way by means of Chapter 1114. So to clarify, small cell wireless facilities are usually a fraction of the size of a traditional cell tower or other wireless facility. And they're generally deployed to provide coverage in a targeted location, whereas a macro cell is usually used to cover a larger geographic area. And they're usually mounted on some tall standalone cell tower or a rooftop. To continue off the last slide, back in 2019, when City Council added Chapter 1114 to the Campbell Muni Code to regulate small cell facilities, City Council also adopted at that time the small cell wireless permitting guidelines, the small cell design guidelines, and a fee schedule. And City Council also approved of a master license agreement template, which the city can use or does use to enter into with wireless facility providers for any facilities proposed on a city-owned and controlled pole. So as seen in the previous slides, we have regulations for small cells in the public right-of-way and then facilities outside the public right-of-way. However, the city also receives applications and anticipates receiving even more in the future to deploy other wireless facilities in the public right-of-way that go beyond the small cell definition. Therefore, today we are proposing regulations that apply to these facilities. Now, although wireless communication facilities are generally regulated by the federal government, the city does have the authority to regulate such facilities to a certain extent. Pursuant to Section 332 of the United States Code, local government still retains authority over decisions regarding the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless services facilities within certain limitations. These limitations include that the city may not unreasonably discriminate between providers of functionally equivalent services. The city may not explicitly prohibit or effectively prohibit the provision of personal wireless services, and the city can't regulate based on environmental effects from RF emissions to the extent that those emissions comply with FCC regulations. Additionally, the FCC has implemented certain regulations for cities when reviewing applications, including a set of shot clocks. And the city must approve all permits and authorizations for a wireless facility, or they must issue, sorry, I apologize. They must issue a permit, any permits or authorizations within the applicable shot clock time limit. These shot clocks have put pressure on the city's review process, and therefore city staff has been working to develop a standardized and more streamlined review process for all wireless facilities. So to comply with the federal regulations, such as the shot clock requirements, and to streamline the review process for review of all wireless facilities, city staff has developed a new wireless communications ordinance for wireless facilities in the public right-of-way other than small cells. As such, today we are recommending that you adopt the ordinance adding Chapter 1113 to the Campbell Muni Code, as well as amend Chapter 1114 and adopt the proposed fee schedule and wireless facility permitting guidelines. So first recommendation, we're going to start with Chapter 1113. This chapter closely follows the format of Chapter 1114, which, as I stated earlier, is for small cells. And Chapter 1113 applies similar regulations. As provided in Chapter 1113, an applicant seeking to construct, install, modify, or engage in any activity relating to a wireless facility in the public right-of-way is required to obtain a wireless facility permit. An applicant will submit a complete application form, and I've shown a little snippet of the application form on the screen above. And the applicant must also pay a wireless permit application processing fee along with any other applicable fees. In addition to the wireless permit, for any wireless facility proposed to be installed on a city pole controlled by the city and located within the public right-of-way, a wireless provider is required to also obtain a city pole license and enter into a master license agreement. Chapter 1113 also provides the review process for a wireless facility permit and requires an applicant to not only comply with the Chapter 1113 requirements, but also to comply with the wireless facility design guidelines and the wireless facility permitting guidelines. Finally, an applicant must also submit an RF compliance report that has been prepared and certified by a licensed California electrical engineer, which verifies that the facility complies with all federal RF standards. Finally, Section 1113-100 includes special provisions for Section 6409A approvals. Generally speaking, this section applies to any modifications or additions to an already existing wireless infrastructure. It requires local governments to approve within only 60 days any request to modify an existing wireless tower or base station that does not substantially change the physical dimensions of that tower or base station. The federal government has provided various standards and factors to help determine what constitutes a substantial change, such as height and width standards. Section 6409A was enacted by the federal government to streamline local government review of such facilities. The idea was to encourage use of existing facilities in an effort to expedite deployment of wireless services. And the city's permitting guidelines, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, also includes a few special provisions for Section 6409A. And it requires an applicant to submit documentation to justify that the proposed modification does in fact meet that section's requirements. Recommendation number 2 is to amend Chapter 1114. As stated earlier, this was adopted in 2019 and regulates small cells in the public right-of-way. Our proposed amendments are minimal and mostly are just to change all references to the small cell permit to now reference the newly proposed citywide wireless facility permit. And also the proposed amendments are just to make this chapter consistent with chapter 1113, change a few definitions and cross-reference. Recommendation number 3 is to approve of the wireless facility permitting guidelines and to authorize the city engineer to update these permitting guidelines at any time. These permitting guidelines provide the process and details for implementing chapter 1113 and 1114. For the application process, an applicant will first execute a master license agreement. But once again, this is only if the facility is proposed on a city-owned pole. Next, the city strongly encourages an informational conference with city staff to obtain additional information and guidance. Next, the applicant will submit their complete application form and pay any applicable fees. And finally, the applicant will provide public notice pursuant to the details outlined in the guidelines. The permitting guidelines also provide an applicant with a checklist with all the required documents that they would need to submit to the city. And the final recommendation tonight is we recommend that City Council adopt a fee schedule for the city's costs related to wireless communication facilities in the public right-of-way. The proposed fee schedule adds new licensing, permitting, and administrative fees relating to all wireless facilities in the public right-of-way for facilities proposed on both city-owned and utility-owned poles. For facilities on city-owned poles, we have an annual license fee of $270 per pole with an annual increase of 3% and additional administrative fees at the hourly rate of $267. We also have the wireless facility permit application fee of $9,879, and this is for costs relating to reviewing, processing, plan check, and inspection. There's also the master license administrative fee, $8,000 for costs by the city for the preparation, negotiation, execution, delivery of the MLA, and for any future amendments to that MLA. And there's also traffic control plan review fees. As for utility-owned poles, there's also a wireless facility permit application fee of $5,874. As you'll note, this fee is different than the wireless facility permit fee for facilities on city-owned poles. And this is because of the difference in hours and costs for city staff to review the different applications. And the last one, there is also a traffic control plan review fee for facilities on utility-owned poles. And that completes my presentation. I'm here to answer questions, and Amy Olay is also here, I believe, from Public Works.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any questions of the council? Vice Mayor Landry?
Sorry. Yes, thank you for the presentation. In your notes, you mentioned that this authorization that we approved tonight gives the city engineer the ability to update at any time these standards. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, you know, this technology is always changing. And so we wanted to have give the city engineer opportunity to, you know, make changes in the permitting guidelines, not the ordinance, just the permitting guidelines. And it would be probably more technical, or if we figure out that the review process needs to be tweaked a little bit so that we can meet the shot clocks more readily, that kind of change.
So it would not say you could add 3 feet to the width of a feature that you add onto the pole. It would be technical in nature and more related to the forms and the application itself, not the design of the facility.
I believe that's the intent. I can have Amy speak to that more. I don't envision that there would be big changes, but I'll have Amy speak to that piece.
Good evening. So the changes and authorizing the city engineer to make those changes is really about understanding how the technology will be evolving. And one of the main things that we want to ensure is that these types of installations don't in any way inhibit pedestrians or passage on a public right-of-way. So if a technology comes in and is much larger, we really would want to discourage that. We want to work with the carriers. And so I think the authority that's given to make those modifications will really be based on the different technology that comes in. But our priority is to protect the city public right-of-way. So with the wireless permit form, that's something that we need to, from time to time, visit to make sure that we're considering, all the staff efforts, and if there's any new guidelines that come forward, we want to be able to address those too.
My concern is that you have the authorization to make those kind of changes. I completely understand, but can you add 5 feet of tree to a telephone pole without coming back and asking to add that to the ordinance?
So at this time, the way the design guidelines is shown is we're actually following the guidelines that were already approved as part of the installations on private property. The reason for that is because other than small cells and these other wireless facilities that will be coming in the public right of way, we really don't have an idea what they're going to look like. We're hoping that they're smaller because that's what we've been told, that with the advancement of technology, things are getting smaller, right? And so that's really our hope. And one of the things that we really want to discourage, we really don't want to see are any type of cell towers, either it mimics trees or what have you on city public right of way.
Any other questions?
And sorry, I just want to clarify one thing. The city engineer would not be able to make changes to the ordinance. This would just be the permitting guidelines. And the permitting guidelines, like I said, it's mostly the process for an applicant to follow. They have public notice requirements, and then it's a checklist of everything they need to submit. So actually, it would not get to the design. What we're asking you tonight is just to authorize the engineer to make changes to the permitting guidelines, not the design standards.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. So I'll now open the public hearing and ask if anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this item. And is there anyone online? So I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion. Councilmember Lopez.
Yeah, so I know this topic might seem esoteric, but I remember when the original ordinance came up, I know it was prudent then. And I know the time since then, there have been cities that have not been complying with the shot clock guidelines and have run into issues and incurred liability. So I think this is a good example of how we be proactive. This is the kind of item that when you're avoiding a problem, you don't necessarily get a lot of recognition for doing so. But looking at what's happened in other cities, I think it's definitely wise. I know it's a big work plan item for you, Bill. Stephanie, I really appreciate your leadership. So I'll gladly support the motion. I did find the questions very helpful. So I appreciate you're asking that, and I feel comfortable, given what we've heard, that it's updates to the guidelines, not the ordinance itself.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, my concern was when you said carte blanche, update anytime, what that meant. And so it's not, you can't add 5 feet of tree, you can't change the design because that's in the ordinance. I have no problem with update anytime, meaning the application form has a typo or the checklist doesn't work or things like that. So that was my only concern, was when it came to design and structure and what we see looking at. So I support the motion as written here otherwise.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
Sure, I can make a motion that the city council introduce for first reading ordinances adding chapter 11.13 to the Campbell Municipal Code for wireless communications facilities in the public right of way, other than small cell wireless facilities, and amend chapter 11.14 of the Campbell Municipal Code for small cell wireless facilities in the public right of way. 2, adopt a resolution, A, approving the wireless facility permitting guidelines, and B, authorizing the city engineer to update the wireless facility permitting guidelines at any time. And 3, adopt the attached resolution adopting a fee schedule for the city's costs related to wireless communication facilities in the public right of way.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Councilmember Lopez and a second by Vice Mayor Landry to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola. Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye.
Okay, we have two ordinances today. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Campbell, adding chapter 11.13 to the Campbell Municipal Code, regulating all wireless communication facilities in the public right-of-way other than small cell wireless facilities. Can I do the second one? Okay, and then the other ordinance is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Campbell, amending chapter 11.14 of the Campbell Municipal Code, regulating small cell wireless facilities in the public right of way.
I move the further reading be waived.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Furtado and a second by Councilmember Lopez to waive further reading.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola. Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. We'll move to new business. Item 12, approval of Downtown Campbell Business Association special event permits. And our presenter is Captain White.
Good evening, honorable mayor, council members. I'm here to present on the Downtown Campbell Business Association special event permit. As you are aware, the DCBA has traditionally held 3 successful recurring annual events in the downtown corridor: the Bunnies and Bonnets Parade, the Creepy Crawler Halloween event, and the Carol of Lights event. These events help families connect with the downtown Campbell and enhance community spirit. All 3 events will be free to the public and can be considered a community spirit event with no alcohol sold or fundraising aspects. These events are made possible by community volunteers and donations. The DCBA has successfully held these types of events annually for over 2 decades. Therefore, staff is recommending the City Council adopt a resolution approving the issuance of a special event permit to the Downtown Campbell Business Association for the Creepy Crawler Halloween event, the Carol of Lights event, and the Bunnies and Bonnets Parade, as described, waiving all fees associated with the 3 events and authorizing a 5-year term for each permit, subject to the findings and conditions of approval as described. I have some questions you might have.
Thank you, Captain. Are there any questions from the council? Okay, I'll open it up to the public for anyone wishing to speak on the item in the council chamber. And no one online, so I'll bring it back to council for discussion and a motion.
Sure, I'll just make a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if Dan was.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make a comment that I really appreciate being able to do this far out in advance and give some guidance and stability, and really do appreciate all the work that the association puts into these events, which add a lot to the community, and hope that we can keep working together on.
Yeah, and I'll just add, this is great for our community. 5 years keeps us from having to come back every year and do this over and over again. And it does show our support for DCBA, Amy, okay?
Now, I will add on to that too. This is one way that the city does support the Downtown Business Association, and we really appreciate the community events that they sponsor, because it does bring families and people together in the sense of community. So thank you. Councilmember Scazola.
Yeah, and just a comment. I think that this has always been these types of events that bring the community together, not just the community, but other communities. People come to Campbell and they just really love these events. So I'm very happy to see a 5-year plan, if you will, for this, so that we can keep having these events. And I mean, I think everyone kind of expects it at this point. These are things that people look forward to, especially our children.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the issuance of a special event permit to the Downtown Campbell Business Association for the Creepy Crawly Halloween event, the Carol of Lights event, and the Bunnies and Bonnets Parade, as described, waiving all fees associated with the 3 events and authorizing a 5-year term for each permit, subject to the findings and conditions of approval as described.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Councilmember Scazola, second by Councilmember Furtado to approve the staff recommendation.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. Item 13 is accepting a priority development area PDA grant from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, to fund the development of the Hamilton Avenue Precise Plan, approving a master funding agreement, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement and related supplements, approving the release of a request for proposals for related consultant services, and authorizing the finance director to prepare related budget adjustments. And our presenter is Senior Planner Stephen Rose.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Biden, members of the City Council. So as a brief recap on key events related to this item, in the development of the 2040 general plan, the Hamilton Avenue Highway 17 interchange was identified as an area of interest for transit improvements, gateway enhancements, and transit-oriented development. To identify the specific capital improvements and land use policies best suited to support the redevelopment of the area, the city applied for and was subsequently awarded $400,000 in priority development area grant funding from MTC to develop an area precise plan for the Hamilton Avenue area. So the purpose of this item is to consider the acceptance of the $400,000 in grant funding from MTC, authorize the release of requests for proposals related to consultant services, and approve a related budget adjustment. As key obligations of the grant, the city must commit to having adequate funding and staffing for the completion of the project, plan for robust community engagement and the development of objective standards, as well as plan for any cost estimates for any associated capital improvements identified. Further, the city must also consider, but not necessarily adopt, MTC's transit-oriented community policies within the plan area. In addition to accepting the grant, staff is seeking authorization to release an RFP for consultant support in preparing the Hamilton Avenue Precise Plan. The City Council will have an opportunity to review the final scope and award the contract later this year. As part of the scope included in the RFP, it is anticipating the creation of an advisory group as part of the process, and a total of 15 meetings involving 1 community meeting, 4 advisory group meetings, 5 planning commission meetings, and 5 city council meetings. As this is largely a policy document, the City Council can be engaged very early in the process, providing opportunity for guidance and guidance throughout. Overall, we're anticipating completion of this project in the spring of 2025. So lastly, as this, the grant is anticipated to fully cover the costs required to develop the Hamilton Avenue Precise Plan, $208,000 in ARPA funding. Those previously set aside to support the project will no longer be required. Accordingly, this item also includes a request for approval of a related budget adjustment. So in conclusion, staff is recommending the City Council adopt a resolution accepting the grant funding, authorizing the release of an RFP, and approving a related budget adjustment. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions from staff? I mean, of staff from council?
You think we'll need 5 council meetings?
That's inclusive of the kickoff meeting, really acceptance of the consultant, and then all the way at the end where we're going back for council for approval. But yes, in the 2-year time period, we outline kind of how we get there.
Okay.
There's key check-ins with drafts and then the final work product.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure being officially, I'm fine with it.
Wait, I wanted 10.
We can compromise and say 5.
Yeah, right, there you go.
I'll settle for 5.
And Stephen, who will be on the advisory group?
It's yet to be determined.
Okay.
But in the RFP, we're identifying it could include members of the community, which are in the project area. It could include members of the city's bicycle pedestrian advisory committee, the civic improvement commission, the list goes on. So it might be a select group of individuals from each of those boards, which could be brought together, but further consideration that will be presented at a later date.
And you'll be, staff will be appointing those members or?
No, more likely than not, we would come back to council for that. Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? I do have a speaker card from Rigo Gallardo. If you'd like to come up to the podium and speak.
Good evening, Mayor.
Welcome.
And Campbell City Council. My name is Rigo Gallardo. I'm a union carpenter from Local 405. As a carpenter, it is great to see new developments in the community. I stand before you today to advocate for crucial area labor standards on future development that will not only benefit workers, but also enhance the overall well-being of our town. I'm here to champion the importance of a livable wage, accessible healthcare, and commitment to accredited apprenticeship programs, and the significance of local hire for the Hamilton Avenue future development. Developers with their grand visions often seek opportunities in our city, and while they promise growth and prosperity, we must not look the other way when they exploit workers by paying substandard wages. This is a grave injustice that cannot be tolerated in our community. To address this issue, I propose the implementation of area labor standards that will set a precedent for ethical development. These standards should encompass key elements such as access to healthcare, accredited apprenticeship programs that serve as escalators to the middle class, a livable wage, and a commitment to hiring local labor. First and foremost, access to healthcare is a fundamental human right, and workers should have to choose between their health and their livelihood by requiring general contractors to provide healthcare benefits to their employees. We ensure that our city's workforce remains healthy and productive. Accredited apprenticeship programs are essential in providing pathways to the middle class by offering opportunities for skill development and career advancement. We empower our residents to build a better future for themselves and their families. Let's make it a requirement that developers and general contractors invest in these programs. A livable wage is a luxury, but a necessity. Our workers deserve fair compensation for their hard work and dedication. By setting a standard, we guarantee that no one in Campbell is left struggling to make ends meet on our projects. Furthermore, promoting local hire is not just an economic choice, but a community building one. It fosters a sense of belonging and ensures that our residents benefit directly from development in our city. By implementing these area labor standards, we send a clear and resounding message to developers and general contractors bidding on future projects. Campbell's construction sites will not be scenes of wage theft and worker exploitation. We will not compromise on our commitment of fairness, justice, and community well-being. In conclusion, the decision before this council is not just about policies and regulations. It's about the soul of our city. Let us stand together and make Campbell a shining example of responsible, ethical development, where workers are treated with dignity, where opportunity is accessible to all, and where progress is defined not only by economic growth, but our collective commitment to injustice and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else in the audience? And anyone online? So I'll close the public comment and I'll bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion. Councilmember Lopez.
First. Okay. Well, first off, to our department, fantastic work. I mean, this is great. And the fact that we don't have the match requirement is really fantastic. And that, you know, it's a budget adjustment in the right direction, not the other way, is always fantastic. But even more importantly, this is going to be really impactful. I appreciate the comments, and it speaks to the fact that this is going to be a key part of the city community and just how we shape the future of Campbell going forward. So I'm really excited for this stage of where we are. We'll of course fully support this and be happy to. I'll just make a couple of comments. I think I appreciate the mayor's questions about the makeup of the committee, and for me, this doesn't need to be part of the motion, but I just want to verbally give you the feedback that I would really like to see when it comes back. I think our commissions are great and have a lot of expertise, but let's see if we can broaden that to some of the neighborhood and just see if we can get some new folks. I know it's always more challenging, but I think that we're also building up the kind of engagement infrastructure to do that. So I would really like to see that. And I appreciate the speaker's comments. I'm sorry, I didn't get the gentleman's name, but it just made me think that it'd be great to have, I would encourage you to share your contact information with our staff and be able to draw on that expertise, whether it's as part of a committee or advisory board that comes out of this or some other way. And, would love to get those perspectives, but definitely think things that are true to our values and without straying into other discussion areas, I'll just say, I think that that's worth hearing. I'd also encourage you to share, if you haven't, your comments. I saw you had a written version with the council, and just email it in. You can do that through our city clerk as well. I think would be a positive thing. So that's all, but really excited to see the grant today, and great work to our staff for going after these.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Landry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks to staff. I was really glad to see on your first slide, you showed the off ramps and on ramps at the freeway. To me, that's one of the biggest obstacles of getting people from the light rail station over Highway 17. I mean, that's like taking your life in your hands, running across those on and off ramps there. So I really am looking forward to some positive solutions, bridges, whatever it takes. This is a gateway. You get off the freeway and this is the gateway to Campbell. We have this in Santa Tomas Expressway, and there's not a lot down there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of this development. And I do want to acknowledge our speaker again. Sorry, I didn't catch your name, but I don't know how that factors into this plan specifically, because right now this is a master plan. But this is a topic that as we move forward, especially with our housing element, the amount of units that we could build, I think this is a topic that should be coming back to council to talk about area labor standards. So thank you for speaking.
Councilmember Furtado.
Just make a brief comment. Also, I think it's great that we have the opportunity to accept this planning grant. It is, of course, as everyone knows here, the beginning of the planning process. The area that we're considering on Hamilton Avenue is a very challenging area for, as Susan mentioned, pedestrians, but of course traffic as well, and circulation and so on. So I suspect it will probably take some time as we work our way through this, and then especially as we consider the appropriate, building standards and labor requirements and things like that. I think those elements are extremely important as well. So obviously, I'm very pleased to support this action.
Councilmember Scazzolo.
I just want to echo all of my fellow council members' comments, and also Rigo, thank you for showing up and reminding us all about the importance of labor and hopefully local labor that goes into some of these. We're going to have a lot of projects coming up in the future. So thank you for being here and making your voice heard.
Okay, anyone might want to make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt item number 13.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilmember Furtado and a second by Councilmember Scazzolo to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. Item 14 is approval of all-star talent agreement and dispensing of bidding requirements as specified in Campbell Municipal Code Section 3.20.0307. And our presenter is Captain White. Thank you.
Good evening again. Honorable Mayor, council members, I am here to present on the All-Star Talent Marketing contract and agreement. As you know, the chief earlier this year in the strategic planning session highlighted recruiting and hiring of police officers as one of our primary goals. I myself have been involved in the hiring process and recruiting process since 2018. And unfortunately, since that time, we've seen a precipitous drop in applicants, overall interest in a career in law enforcement, and just quality applicants in general. So recognizing that trend this year, we made an ask of council to allot $150,000 towards a web-based recruitment of specifically police officers. We do obviously recruit for other positions within the police department, but again, the bulk of that is specific to the position of sworn police officer. To give you guys an idea, I'll share my screen here. So where we are currently today, the police department is authorized for 46 sworn police officer positions. We
We currently have 37 sworn officers available for duty on a day-to-day basis. We have three police officer trainees that started in the academy in July of 23. And to put that into perspective, they're not going to be graduating from that police academy until around February of next year. And then they'll have to go through a minimum 20-week training process, putting them in the range of June or July when they would actually be able to operate as solo police officers and actually add to our patrol services division as driving their own cars and filling a beat of solo beat officer responsibility. And as we have communicated with council in the past, our training program and academy has a 50% fail rate when you combine the two together. So of those three, just statistically, I mean, obviously we hope the best for all three of them, but statistically we might get 1.5 or one. And then in addition to that, we currently have 4 vacancies. And as we do in the police department, try and project out, as you heard, of the training timeline between the academy and field training, we have to project out at least 18 months of what our current or expected vacancies will be. And we are looking at a minimum of 6 vacancies. And historically, with the way our applicants and hiring has been going, we've been stuck in the 37 to 39 available officers year over year for at least 5 years now. So we've not made a lot of headway, and a lot of that's just because we have not been able to attract the kind of applicants to fill this position. Next slide. So in February of this year, we, for over the last 2 years, really, we've been looking at how do we get a budget to afford a marketing campaign that would bring in the type of applicants we're looking for. In February, All Star Talent, we went out and got some quotes for varying marketing related items, and All Star Talent was really the only one willing to work with us on a very short-term basis based on the budget that we had. So we've been on a month-to-month project with them basically since February, doing a lot of the back end and build out work to manage the incoming recruitment and try and weed through all of the interest to find actual applicants. And that is still in progress. And as we get more interest, we're able to figure out, where to best target quality applicants and where the best place to put that money is. So as you can see to date, and if you looked at the numbers in the report from 22, versus where we're at today from February, we've already exceeded 22 numbers, and that's after 5 years of consistently decreasing numbers. So while it's not right now creating overwhelming numbers, we do have a lot of people in the interest pipeline, and what we know is a lot of those people are awaiting testing, other things that they need to become eligible to actually submit that application. So as you can see, 1,300 people have submitted all of their contact information that allows us the ability to continuously recruit them through the online management system. And we've actually received 68 police officer applicants. We've used it for the dispatch positions. That's also increased those numbers significantly. And I can tell you from prior hiring rounds with dispatchers, we've seen a significant increase in the number of eligible candidates coming through. And then most recently with the training coordinator position, we put a small amount of money towards that as well to try and increase the number of applicants. So staff's recommendation is that the city council adopt a resolution approving a 1-year contract with All Stars Talent, authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement and sign the 1-year contract with All Star Talent for the management of police department's online recruiting and marketing campaign, and dispensing with the bidding requirements as specified in Campbell Municipal Code Section 3.20.0304. I'm here for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Captain. Any questions of Captain White? No? I'll open up the public hearing. Any comments from the public on this item? And I don't see anybody online. So we'll bring it back to council for a discussion or a motion.
Brief comments. Certainly I do support this recommendation by the police department. I recognize, of course, and all of us do, I'm sure, as we look at national statistics, it's very difficult these days to recruit qualified applicants for police positions. I think, of course, we are a very advanced department, have many opportunities for those who are able to make it through both the academy as well as our robust and challenging field training program, which is good. It means that in the final analysis, we get the best candidates we can. And I think we have a lot to be proud of, and a number of potential applicants likewise should look to the high standards that we subscribe to. So definitely, obviously, support this request.
Thank you. Any other comments or a motion?
Yeah, also just a few brief comments. I appreciate this item coming forward, and as Councilman Furtado was saying, the national environment is just getting tougher. Even locally, there's this report recently highlighting a number of cities in the Bay Area. One of them was the city of Alameda, which is offering a $75,000 signing bonus right now. It just tells you the kind of environment that we're in. One thing that I know we're not going to do is compromise on our high standards. And so that's where I think that this makes sense to get the right kind of pipeline so that we don't have to make those kind of compromises. And with the 1-year term, I almost see this as, I know there's prior work with this vendor, and that's good. I love seeing that slide with the statistic, the data that we've seen so far. With 1 year, I almost see it as a pilot. Let's see what works. Let's get more of that data back, and then reiterate, adjust, see if something longer makes sense. Going out to more vendors. I know that the short term is a difficult factor there, but let's keep that discussion going and see what's working, what's not.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that the city council adopt a resolution approving a 1-year contract with All Star Talent and authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional service agreement and sign a 1-year contract with All Star Talent for the management of the police department's online recruiting and marketing campaign and dispensing with bidding requirements as specified in Campbell Section Municipal Code 3.20.030. Bracket 4.
Second.
Second the motion.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Landry, a second by Councilmember Furtado to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. So we'll move to unfinished business, and item 15 is award and approve a construction contract with Lathrop Construction Associates Incorporated for the Measure O Campbell Library renovations project number 23-SS, and presenting is our Public Works Director, Todd Capurso.
Good afternoon, good evening. It is much earlier than I thought I would see you tonight, so that's a good thing. I'm here to speak with you about the Measure O program, more specifically about the library. So before we get to the recommendation at hand, want to just make sure we cover a little bit of the background for those watching and maybe those that are not completely up to speed. But as we know, the Measure O program goes back to a voter approved measure in November of 2018. Shortly thereafter, we did funding allocations, we hired architects, and I do want to acknowledge that we hired Jason Architecture to work specifically on the library project. And early on, we made allocations where $20,500,000 of the Measure O funding was allocated to the library after a variety of discussions and different allocations. But I also want to acknowledge that we did get some very significant funding contributions along the way. Shortly thereafter, we did receive a $510,000 contribution from the Santa Clara County Library District, who is, I think, strongly represented here this evening. And along the way, as we were working with our architecture team and in-house staff, we were also able to put together grant proposals for a couple of very prominent grants. And we've been before you on this project before to accept $4.7 million that we received through the State Library Grant Program, as well as another $500,000 that we received through Silicon Valley Clean Energy. So all those grants together have really increased the project budget by almost 28%. So the overall project budget has grown from $20,500,000 to over $26,200,000. So we find ourselves in a very good position with this project. While a lot of this was going on, I know that you heard from Abe from Jason Architects several times about different iterations of where we were going with our design. And as we began to complete the design in early 2022, we also issued a request for qualifications so that we would go down the path of pre-qualifying potential bidders for both of the significant Measure O projects. For the library in particular, we pre-qualified four construction firms. And as we were completing that, we also hired our construction management firm, which is Griffin Structures. So we put ourselves, what we thought was in a very good position to carry forward on both projects. We were most recently before you on June 6th when you approved the plans, specs, and the estimate specifically for the library. And at that time, the best information that we had was that the engineer's estimate for the project was right just about at $20 million. And if we were to go with an award of that amount, we would anticipate approving a contingency of $2 million. At that time, we explained to you that with the additional funds that we had already received and brought to the project, that would be that would allow for a projected surplus in the project at that time. Now, following your approval, we did move forward and we invited the four pre-qualified contractors to a mandatory pre-bid walkthrough that was largely conducted by Lance Solomon of Griffin Structures, where we actually walked the site. We did only get 3 of our 4 pre-qualified contractors to attend that meeting. So we were expecting 3 bids. And we did have a request for information period where the potential contractors were allowed to submit questions. We worked with the architect and the construction management team to prepare answers, and we were able then to post those responses for all of the potential bidders to see the responses. So as I said, we did only get 3 of the contractors to attend that. And then when it came to August 30th, we actually had a very eventful, nice little bid opening in this very room. And we did open the 2 bids that we received, and we were pleasantly surprised that the low bid came in under the engineer's estimate. That is for a company called Lathrop Construction. Their bid, including the 3 ad alternates, came in at $18,189,000, which is about $1.8 million under the estimate. So that is a very good position for us to be in with the project. And as a reminder to you, page 4 of the memo does kind of give a recap of how we now have recalculated the proposed expenditures. So when you account for the potential award of this contract, the recalculated contingency, we've updated what some of the utility costs will be. We are projecting that if we go in this direction, we could potentially have a savings of $3.9 million in Measure O funds. So the next step would be to award the contract, approve the contingency, go back to the recommendation page, authorize the city manager to execute the agreement, and authorize the city engineer to negotiate and execute contract change orders up to the 10% mark. The next steps in this process would be, upon approval, that we would issue we would proceed to process the contract, of course. But we would anticipate being able to issue the notice to proceed in October, with construction starting in November, and then taking us into 2025. And before I stop, I do want to acknowledge Lance Solomon is attending virtually from Griffin Structures, our construction management firm. Amy Olay, our city engineer, is here. I want to thank the entire Public Works team for helping get the bid documents out. We had a little bit of a challenging time there with the project manager leaving, so it was a little bit of work, but I do appreciate everybody's efforts, and we were able to successfully get the bid package out and get some successful bids. And that is where we stand this evening. Thank you very much.
Todd, other questions of? Go ahead. Vice Mayor Furtado.
Thanks.
Councilmember Furtado, go ahead.
That's fine. Yes, thank you.
Let it go first.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate your summary. I think it was very good. Just a couple of questions. I just wondered if you might briefly sort of state for us the role of the construction manager and how that process will unfold in terms of the city staff, your department oversight, and just your own personal assurance that that is going along okay. And I'll add a second related question, I believe. I'm assuming, of course, that we will also follow all the commissioning standards, and that the construction manager will also monitor or oversee commissioning as well, and likewise report appropriately to your department, and you'll provide the needed oversight in that area as well.
Yes, that is correct. So let me start with the second question, and Lance can jump in at some point here as well. But the construction manager that we have selected, we did select. We didn't necessarily start out this way, but we did make a selection that the construction manager would be able to manage both projects, because we are in a site that has some good proximity. I don't want to call it a tight site, but there's not a lot of room to play with. And so having coordination between the two contractors and what areas that the city is able to use and not use will be very important. I think we walked you through the site plan maybe a few meetings back. And so the construction manager will actually have a trailer on site and will be kind of the day-to-day person that is on both jobs, probably more so than anybody else. We will have still through the construction, we have both of the architect teams, but in this case, I'm speaking specifically about the library. The architect team is still under contract and will be providing construction support all the way through the construction phase. And that is very important for things like requests of information, potential change, or evaluating potential change orders. And so that ability and that responsibility is there. Now, what we don't have at the moment is a dedicated project manager on staff. So we're working together as a team to see how we can help facilitate that, and we will work toward filling that role. But in the interim, whether that position is filled or not, our department will still be evaluating the RFIs and the potential change orders in tandem with the construction manager, and we will consult with the architect to whatever extent is required. And so there will be coordination all the way through. And I should also add that there is a role to be played by our internal building inspectors, who are not on the project team, and probably rightfully so, but they will inspect as required, just like they would for any privately developed project as well. Lance, I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that.
No, I think you put it very, very well and concisely. It's so as Todd mentioned, we're working with the architect team and the city staff and managing this project and seeing it through successfully. And as you mentioned, you asked about commissioning. There'll be a commissioning agent. We'll engage them at the appropriate time, bring them on board, and take them through the whole process. And then towards the end of the project, they're very much involved in making sure all the pieces and components of the mechanical systems are functioning according to the California Green Code requirements.
I appreciate both of those comments. Yes, thank you. And I realize, of course, that change orders are probably inevitable, but just based on it, I would assume that staff is informed periodically of how that's going. Not for our approval, but I mean, just information purposes about the contingency fund, whether it's still.
Most definitely. Yes.
If you will, or
yes. Yes, we will.
We know how that's going.
Very good. Yes. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you questions. I would like to compliment you, but I'm supposed to ask questions first, so save that for later. Just for clarification for the public, you mentioned that we have $24 million, 25 million total in the budget, but the bid is only 18 million. Can you explain to the public what's the difference and why we're not spending 25 million on construction?
Yes, I can. I will try not to go through every category, but
General terms.
well, in general terms, we fund the design and the inspection and the plan review all as part of the project. And
the
so
architect fees,
a portion of the construction manager, the different utility work that we've had to do. I think a few months ago, council approved an agreement with PG&E because there will be a service change. So it's not unusual to have all those things, kind of roll into the overall project. And typically, the construction budget is, 80% or so of the overall project budget. That's kind of the industry standard. It can fluctuate, as you know, but that's really why a $26 million budget does not buy you $26 million of construction. It buys you a $26 million project, but there are other components along the way. Probably most prominently is the architect and our design fees. I mean, that alone is almost it's $1.8 million on this project. So that really is kind of in line with what the contingency is for this project. So it's about 10%.
Thank you. And it's not necessarily for my benefit, it's for the public. I'd be remiss without asking this, and I think I know the answer. Will we have an archaeologist on site when we break ground?
Not on the library.
Because we're only taking the ramp out and.
Correct.
Okay.
That will be true of the other project that will not be named tonight, but.
My archaeologist friend will compliment me for asking. And the last thing is, you mentioned commissioning, but could you please explain so that everybody understands? Because that is a time period to commission.
It is, and I'm gonna turn that one back over to Lance because I will probably trip over myself on that one. So I'm gonna let Lance walk you through that one, if you don't mind, Lance.
No, not a problem. So basically, there's a consultant, it's a commissioning agent who starts at the very beginning of the project and provides checklists to the MEP contractors. That's your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors. And they go through these checklists and make sure that they are complying with the various requirements. There's a Cal Green code that they have to comply with. And at the end of the project, we make sure that all of these systems are running efficiently and meet all the California, Green Code requirements. And that's what the commissioning agent does. And so it's making sure that you have an efficient building at the end of the day.
And the MEP is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing?
That's correct.
Okay, just again, it's for the public to understand better. So it's basically making sure everything is operational. So even though construction is finished, there is a time period. We can't move in right away. Okay.
Yeah, basically, that's correct. And we're making sure all the systems are running at maximum efficiency.
Any other questions? So I'll open it up for public comment. And is there anyone in the council chamber that wishes to speak on the item?
Good evening, council members. I'm Jennifer Weeks, County Librarian for the Santa Clara County Library District, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to say how excited we are to make progress on this very, very wonderful project, and a huge kudos to your city team for all of their hard work at navigating road bumps as things go along. But Todd and his team, even Natasha hosting us over there at the rec center. We're very, very grateful for this. And I just wanted to let you all know of our deep appreciation and excitement in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else in the audience? And I don't see anybody online. So I'll close the public comment and bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion. Councilmember Furtado.
I'll just make a brief comment. It's great to be at this stage for the library. I had the opportunity to mention something to this effect before, but Campbell has always valued the fact that we have a library. Campbell's first library started in 1894. The residents at that time felt it was very important to have a collection of books that people could read and refer to and so on. And then fortunately, when the library system, of course, started in 1917, we joined. And so we've been a part of the Santa Clara County Library System for many, many years. So it's, I believe we're the last library now to either build a new facility or significantly remodel our facility. And of course, we're doing the latter, but from all the diagrams and things that I've seen, it's a beautiful building. When it gets done, have much easier access. So pleased that we're at the stage and we have the opportunity to move ahead with its approval.
Councilmember Lopez.
Likewise, very excited. Todd, you didn't really elaborate. You mentioned it was an eventful bid opening. So it sounds like I missed out on not being here, but definitely very exciting to hear the news and be at the stage. So I'm really excited to move forward. I also just want to say thank you, not just Jennifer, but all of you show up and show your support for the library. It really makes a difference, and appreciate you spending your evening, and can't wait till we get to the point where we can move into the new space. I know you're looking forward to that as well. But really glad to be here.
Scazola.
Yeah, I think I'm just as excited as everyone else on this council to put shovels in the dirt. And I just want to add that, the library, it's not just about books, it's like it creates so many memories for so many people. Myself, my daughter, it was like grandma would come over once a week and walk her down in her stroller down to the library. And, she got some of those initial toddler readings, and a love for learning and reading at that time. And I know she's just one of countless, citizens here in Campbell, Santa Clara County. And I'm just so excited that we're going to have a beautiful building and create some brand new memories. And I'm actually most excited about the new hangout spaces that there's going to be there, like really inviting for the community. So very much looking forward to it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Landry.
Yeah, I want to start out and acknowledge the Friends of the Library. You guys, I don't know, all of you, I think there's Chuck and Jennifer, but everybody else over there. You guys were really the instigation and the motivation behind getting this on the ballot. I remember being over at some of your houses and talking about this. And I'm the only one left here that was part of that whole movement to get this bond. So I greatly appreciate it. It's great to see you guys all here. I do want to thank Todd and his staff. We've had our, I don't want to say differences, but we've made it through, and we've survived 2 project managers, lots of other things happening. It was an exciting bid opening. I had to be here to see what was going on. But I do appreciate that we have not only survived, we've shined and come out with a wonderful job. And I want to thank the architect and all the creative work. This is going to be such a beautiful facility. The open space, the staircase, the just working elevators, no ramp. Those are major things that we're going to have, and this is going to shine for the city for the next 100 years. So I really appreciate everybody, and thank you for coming. Thank you for pushing us to get this onto the ballot. And I really can't wait. Now, only it won't be ground or final opening until I'm off the council is my only bug right now, is I won't still be here. But I do appreciate everybody, and I would love to be the one to make a motion after the mayor speaks.
Thank you. So I am too excited about the project and moving forward. It's taken a while to get here, but and some bumps in the road, but I appreciate the team effort, all of our consultants, the working together with the library, Jennifer and your staff, and coming to our meetings and supporting the project. It means a lot. And so I compliment everybody and look forward to a beautiful remodeled building. And I know it's going to create more inviting spaces for people. Your patronage will increase just because of the spaces that you're creating. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll allow you to make the motion, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I make a motion, and I am going to read this down. I make a motion that the City Council adopt a resolution to, 1, award the construction contract for the Measure O Campbell Library renovations project number 23SS to the lowest responsible bidder, Lathrop Construction Associates, Inc., 2, approve the construction contract in the amount of $18,188,000 plus a 10% design contingency of $1,818,900. And 3, authorize the city manager to execute an agreement as specified in Campbell Municipal Code Section 3.20.100. And 4, authorize the city engineer to negotiate and execute contract change orders up to and within the allocated construction contingency.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Vice Mayor Landry, a second by Councilmember Scazola to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Wholehearted yes.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. And I think that deserves some. Thank you. And the last item on the agenda this evening is council committee reports. Anybody like to start? Councilmember Furtado.
I'd like to report, I had the opportunity to attend the meeting of the Emergency Operational Area Council. Unfortunately, the paperwork from the appointing authority to the approving authority did not fully match, and it did not happen before the meeting occurred, so I wasn't able to be officially seated. But I was there, of course, and it was a very good meeting. We heard a number of reports from different agencies within the county in terms of emergency management goals, responsibilities of these particular agencies. So that was good. I did perceive the fact that it seems that some members of the authority still don't fully understand what the role is in emergency management within their cities. And some people were looking for the county to kind of step in and sort of take over or be responsible, where in fact, of course, according to California's standardized emergency management system, every city has a responsibility for its own operation in city and responding to disaster and being prepared for it. It's when the city feels that it cannot handle it, that it seeks support from the county, which if necessary, and the county can't handle it, to the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. So California has a very robust and effective system for emergency management as far as fires, floods, and faults. So that was a good meeting. Secondly, I had the opportunity to attend one of the meetings, of course, of the West Valley Clean Water Authority. This particular meeting, the reason why I'm bringing it to your attention, this particular authority deals with stormwater management. Recently, we went to voters with a survey asking for their opinion and whether they would be willing to support an increase in fees in order to cover the costs of stormwater management. So we share this authority with our 3 neighboring cities, Los Gatos, Saratoga, and Montserrat. Unfortunately, the voter response indicated that 50% of my citizens in Campbell have a higher percentage of yes, and interestingly enough, there were 2 fees given, a lower fee and a higher fee, meaning a lower tax and a higher tax. And our voters actually voted more in favor for the higher tax. But our authority program was started actually in 2018 as a joint powers authority between the 4 cities that I mentioned. The program existed before that. It was in a slightly different format, but this separate authority was formed then. And since 1987, the Federal Clean Water Act regulates stormwater discharges. So we are mandated by the federal government to do so. The storm drain system is covered by the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, and consequently, our particular organization, Santa Clara Valley Agency, is awarded to us the first contract in this area to manage the national program. So there is there's a lot of misunderstanding as to exactly what this authority does. Because you hear stormwater management, you hear solid waste management, you hear the water district and its role and responsibility, and you hear the water company, a lot of water management. And naturally, I think we would like to, over the next couple of years, begin an education program to sort of clarify somewhat the roles of the different agencies in water management, and hopefully clarify our area of responsibility so that voters will be more inclined to understand what we do, why it's important. As we manage drainage of materials and liquid into stormwater, which goes directly into creeks, which goes directly to the ocean without any treatment. So that is the summary of that, and I felt it was important just to summarize that. And then I had the opportunity, as did Vice Mayor Landry, to this Saturday attend the two open house events that the police department sponsored. And that's let me comment on this second one since we were both there. I had the opportunity to go to the morning event, which was held in Edith Park. This particular event was sponsored by our police department, of course, as well as counselors and family members of children who are on the autism spectrum or maybe have cerebral palsy or syndromes challenged neurologically. And the idea, of course, was to allow participants to get to know the police department and understand and have an opportunity to see the types of equipment. We were fortunate to have several of our dogs there so that the young people could understand the role of dogs. Our drone program was there. Fire department was there as well. So I thought it was a very excellent inviting children who are challenged neurologically to be a part of the system, for people and families to be there and also ask questions and see kind of what the police department for this effort. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor Landry.
Thank you. And I'm going to follow on Dan's water conversation. I'm on the Valley Water District's Joint Powers Board or Policy Advisory Committee. And we got a tour of the water purification facility. If anybody has the opportunity to go, it is absolutely amazing. They're taking the sewage treatment water that's had a tertiary level of treatment that typically would go in the recycled pipeline or out to the bay. And they have a massive major purification facility that is taking the water to a level of drinking quality. So it basically goes from flushing in your toilet through this purification, osmosis, and everything else they can do to water that is somewhat, that the health department says you can't really use it for potable water, but it's at a drinkable level. And the reason this is important to Campbell is we are the best water percolation ground in the whole entire county. The percolation ponds is the best soil and condition to percolate and refill our aquifers. And so in the Valley Water right now has a purification line project that they are going to bring a massive water line from the Palo Alto sewage treatment facility. When they came and spoke to us, they were going to connect also to San Jose. That's apparently not in the plan right now, but they're going to run this out from basically Palo Alto, Sunnyvale, through Santa Clara, through San Jose, through Campbell to get to our perk ponds with this purified water. And they're going to go down Hamilton Avenue, which we just paid, I don't know how many millions to repave. So I've been speaking with our representative, Jim Bell, about this project, and I asked for clarification of if this water will be blended with our potable water system in the future, why do we need to pay a separate line right now and cause all this disruption and all these tens of millions for one dedicated line to fill the perk ponds, which we need to do, but can we do it as part of the bigger blending of when they mix potable water with this, which could be a couple years out. So I've been pursuing that. The other committee, the Economic Development Subcommittee, was Sergio and I met with the Economic Development team. And we've talked a lot about where we are, where sales tax come from, what kind of businesses we have, what don't we have. But the really important thing that I see is our next step is branding. What is Campbell? What is our brand? How do we sell ourselves? How do we, do we have a logo, a graphic? We had that introduction at that meeting, and I'm looking forward to them coming back and discussing this branding with the council. I also was at the Day of Remembrance with that Dave Cortese, our state senator, hosted with the mayor, was there as a 9/11. It was on 9/10, but it was a 9/11 memorial. And they must have had, I think they had a flag for every person who died. The whole entire corner of the sheriff's office was covered in flags to recognize everybody. I also was honored to help speak before the mayor did at our State of the City, which I thought was absolutely wonderful and really highlighted how great Campbell is. I attended the city's health fair last week to talk about our medical program and other benefits. And I was very excited to go to the police technology event on Saturday that Dan was there also. And as much as I love our dogs, I'm really into the drones now. It was great demonstration. They had a little drone that goes inside the building to clear a building, and he goes, we have a toss mode and a turtle mode. Oh, I got to see those. So he takes the drone, throws it, and he commands it, and it takes off in toss mode. And then he put it on the ground, and he says, okay, watch this. And he hits something, the turtle, like a turtle, it flips itself and rights itself and takes off. And I was just, that's great. That's as good as the dogs. So that was my exciting time, and I am looking forward to going to our future Senator Becker's open house on Friday.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Hey, well, if you like the dogs and you like the drones, they have electronic dogs now. Is that gonna be the next year? Don't give them any ideas. I really appreciate the updates. A lot of interesting things going on, especially Dan. Some of that data you shared, really interesting. I also had a number of meetings, and I'll try to just kind of give a summary. We had a really eventful Air District meeting. In part, just interviewing new members for the hearing board, which is made up of community members, including members from Santa Clara County who hear the appeals from some of the companies that are regulated by the Air District. We're also this is where I'm grateful to our staff for where we are now, just in terms of Zoom and remote and hybrid meetings. But the Air District has had, because we're spread out around the different counties, has experimented with having different satellite offices, including in Santa Clara County. And I won't name any names, but we've had a number of people, including from our area, but not fulfill some of the commitments that are required now, just because the state has made it so restrictive to do remote locations for meetings. So really having to rethink. So that might include going from 2 meetings to 1 meeting a month, changing the time, all these different things, but really the push is getting back in person, minimizing, which we have been in person, but moving away from all these satellite offices. So some challenging meetings, not to mention the many administrative and all the management work that I've been involved there with as well. We also had a major meeting with VTA, and I appreciate hearing from some Campbell residents about one of the items that you might have heard got some attention on the local news and other folks, but that involved a proposed interim housing site at the Serona Yard site in North San Jose. And I won't go over all the issues on both sides, which is a very complex issue, with at the same time everybody trying to move forward, realizing that homelessness is such an issue. We all need to do our part. How do we look at the issues that are there? You know, you can corner me if you want all the gory details. I think I don't even call it a compromise. I think we ended up coming to an answer that I really think put aside the politics, and maybe some people weren't happy, but really, how do we address the issues and move forward? And I made the amendments to, you know, treat this instead of a maximum as a minimum, and look at more sides while addressing the issues that people brought up. I may be the only one who feels who feels this way, but I think we came to the best solution we could have. It's not final, we'll be coming back next year, but if you get any questions, because again, I did hear even from some of our local residents about it, I'm happy to chat more about that. Last Tuesday, I also attended a meeting of the Campbell Ministerial Group, which is an informal group, multi-faith, multi-denominational, that meets just to discuss community issues. I shared what we're doing as a city, and I'll just share that they're very, very interested and supportive to hear of the work that we're doing on housing, around the Destination Home Grant that we received. They're very, very excited for that. And they mentioned just wanting to stay updated and maybe meet with that person once they're on board, just because I think they both face the issue. And I know our police department has had some interactions at different times with different churches and others, but also obviously a very compassionate group of people who want to do their part. And I think a lot of consensus there. I'm sure I'll have more details on this next meeting, but they're also planning the third annual multi-faith, non-denominational. I don't know if it is non-denominational, if it's multi-faith, I guess it's one or the other, but a Thanksgiving service that churches, synagogues, mosques, and so I think a really great local tradition that we started in Campbell a couple of years ago. And so I think we have a tentative date, which is the 19th, the evening of the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So you can start putting on your calendars. I'm sure I'll have more information to share soon. But obviously welcome everyone from the community to that.
Thank you. Councilmember Scozola.
Yeah, a few committee reports. First of all, Silicon Valley Clean Energy. So always tracking progress towards reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. The latest reports in, so a little bit bad news. Essentially, we've gone back to more or less 2019 levels. And the big reason is the pandemic. Obviously, people were off the roads, and it's mostly due to transportation emissions. So hearing that news, obviously, one thing that just everyday citizens can do, obviously, is going towards electric vehicles, trying to get more of these combustion engines off the road. Obviously, SVCE is always promoting or investing in clean energy infrastructure, and we're well on our way to hitting the state goals of reduction of emissions. But that's just something that was pretty surprising. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. Pretty much everyone's back to being on the road again. But yeah, so we're back to 2019 levels, unfortunately, and it's just cars on the road again. So invest in EVs, guys. That would help tremendously. So let's see what else. Also, I was at the VTA Policy Advisory Committee. So we recommended to the Board of Directors to approve the 2024 State Transportation Improvement Program. So these are essentially big projects coming about here in Santa Clara County. And I can tell you a few of them that are planned, so long as, of course, the board approves them. But the Central Bikeway, that's really exciting to me. It's going to connect essentially East San Jose all the way to Santa Clara. It's going to be a beautiful, like a bike superhighway is how I have it described. So no longer will you be there's just so many stops to, it's pretty difficult, let's be honest, to especially get from all the way east San Jose to Santa Clara. But the plan is to make this just this beautiful, easy, more or less straightforward run from east to west, east meets west. So that's one of the big projects. Also, I-280 Wolf interchange improvements. That's been deemed really necessary. I think probably much like Hamilton, I would assume. US 101 and 85 express lanes are coming. So this would be considered phase 4, bringing them further south, down towards San Jose, possibly further down into, eventually, I'm assuming, down into our even more southern cities. So one thing I did bring up, though, and hopefully it's in the notes from the meeting, is that I have just a little bit of reluctance on those express lanes, and it was an equity thing, because I know the benefits are many benefits to express lanes. It gives a lot of funding to fund other transportation projects, which ultimately benefits everybody. However, I'm fearful of, turning our highways into some kind of classes thing where it's like, oh, you got the money and you can just zoom along the highway and the rest of you poors are stuck in traffic. So I've been assured that that is something that's on the mind of ETA, and maybe there's some solutions to that in the future. But yeah, some pretty huge things, so long as the board approves, coming. And last and not least, the Campbell Historical Museum and Ainsley House Foundation. So first of all, really fun. Our last meeting, we were Alan Hicks of the Ainsley family. He has a dream of converting on the corner right here in downtown Campbell, right next to Blue Line Pizzas, like the old family office building. And they have plans to convert it into a spout house, like an old English style spout house. And they're going to have a ton of historic value to it. They're going to have, essentially it's going to be themed Campbell, Orchard City, the cannery, things of that nature. And they're going to have a beautiful beer garden out there. So it's really nice to see the property and kind of envision what it might look like. So that was fun. Also, I have really good news about the summer concerts. They were extremely successful. People came out, Campbell residents, I'm sure other people from other cities as well. And although the final numbers aren't in yet exactly what the profits were, I can say that we sold over $20,000 in concessions. So people came out and they really, bought those beer, wine, hot dogs, you name it. And I can say that all the proceeds are going to be going towards the restoration of the Ainsley House and field trips to the Campbell Historical Museum. So really happy about that news, reporting that news. And that's it from me.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Landry had another comment.
Yeah, I forgot to mention under the library conversation, when the project first came forward, I said, don't tear down the redwood tree or Joanne Fairbanks was going to haunt us all. And it became necessary that we have to take the tree down because of the structural integrity of the building. And I just wanted to say, give the tree the last rites here before we cut it down, and make sure that we do post it to the community that we're going to lose that gigantic redwood tree.
Thank you. I attended the county's 9/11 remembrance, and it was a really well organized and nice event. I think there were elected officials from all of the cities in Santa Clara County, so it was very, very well attended and a very nice ceremony. And I also attended the Cities Association meeting last night, and I wanted to advise the council that the Cities Association has been contemplating moving from, changing from an association to a JPA for the last, I don't know, two and a half years. And the discussion was very robust, and the executive board wants to have the JPA finalized by November, our last meeting of this year. And there were several cities that are not totally on board with that change. And so they're asking each representative, each board member to come back to their respective cities and have the presentation done so that all the council members are aware of it, can ask questions, understand what the purpose of moving from the association to the JPA is. So we're in the process of trying to schedule a study session for one of our meetings in October. And that's all I had. And so I will adjourn the meeting at 9:29.